Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the 90-minute finale of The Walking Dead's 6th season. We are on season 6, episode 16, Last Day on Earth. So, spoiler alert, as I shall be bearing all and diving into the mad thick of things in this review. So without further ado, I would actually like to open up this finale review by briefly reading some tweets that you guys sent me after I finished watching The Walking Dead. I'm going to bring those up on my phone right now and read for you all the highlights of your tweets that I've received so far. So from Zachary Fossenovo, I have no idea how to pronounce your last name, says, first things first, JDM, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, was amazing as Negan, but I didn't like the cliffhanger. It ruined the most iconic moments of the comic. Okay? So then we have Nito del Toro 1, who says, my worst fear came true, and I'm not talking about Negan. They downgraded that death to a mere cliffhanger. Hashtag The Walking Dead finale. Next from Osh, or Jazra, he says, Saviors exceeded my hopes to how terrifying they'd be. JDM as Negan was brilliant. And I have a suspicion that Maggie's time is up, okay? And then from Professor Shy Guy himself, he says, man, I am not happy. Follows that up with, I feel like that was super rude of them. The showrunners, that is. I was expecting to deal with the knowledge until fall. Not that. So now, you want to know my thoughts. I assume that's why you clicked on this video. I am greatly divided. We have for ourselves a tremendously horrendous situation. I thought, as did perhaps many of us, that the showrunners would have learned their lesson previously to not play with viewers' expectations to the point that you lead them to believe a certain character died and was beyond all salvation and then bring them back. I mean, that situation with Glenn, I thought would serve as the precursor to them making wiser and even bolder decisions with their character deaths, because when you think about it, we haven't lost a pre-Alexandria character, in fact, in a very long time. I think back to Tyrese and Beth, for example, and we lost Denise, we lost Jessie and her family. We've lost a lot of key Alexandrian players, but when it comes to the core group, we're at the point where the show needs to be bold and forthright and fearless. When they bring us to this point, we finally meet Negan, and he is as charismatic and threatening and terrifying as all get out. Those 15 minutes that we spent with Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan, I was absolutely out of my freaking gourd. I was losing my mind with anxiety. I was like doing the weirdest fidgeting motions that entire time just to try to keep myself stable and sane and to ground myself in my current existence, because I was petrified. I was as mortified and sweating the same bullets as our entire crew, who was completely laid bare before Negan, at his mercy. And we, as the viewers, were also at his mercy. And instead, it was us, first-person perspective, who got the bat at the end. Of course, they have concealed precisely who it was that Negan's dearly beloved bat, Lucille, landed upon again and again and again. And that I do find excruciatingly frustrating. I know some people who are actually okay with the way that things went, and I count myself among the many who are like, why? why did it have to be this way? If it were any other show, for example, Game of Thrones, I use the Game of Thrones example because it fits. We would have seen everything. We would have seen the blood and the viscera and the guts and the skull-crushing action that we were, by the way, bracing ourselves for. I mean, do they think that they're doing us a favor by sparing our innocence? By leaving us to teeter on this cliff edge until freaking October or whatever it is that season 7 premieres? I mean, do they think they're doing us any psychological favors or delivering therapeutic benefits with the never-ending question marks? I just think that after all of the cliffhanger decisions that have been made in this season, they would finally bring the hammer down, or shall we say, the bat. Because every fiber of my being was coursing toward that moment, toward the end of the eeny-meeny-miny-moe, catch a tiger by the toe. I was ready. I hated it, and I felt the anxiety, but I was reveling in it. Just that sheer adrenaline rush of knowing that something was truly going to go down this time. And it didn't. And it's so funny because the way that they constructed that final scene, of course, with the first person's perspective, so we don't really get to know who it is, and then with like the blood streaking down the screen, like GoldenEye status, if any of you guys played that old N64 game. It's like, dude, just show it. Just do it already. We have been waiting an entire season for this. And once again, the next premiere is going to have to make up for the sloppy work of the finale. That's exactly what happened with the mid-season premiere and the mid-season finale. If you guys will recall, they built up, and then they knocked all the cards down in the premiere, and bodies hit the floor, things happened, they were on a roll. And so I really thought that we were going to get that definitive knowledge and have to accept what just transpired. But instead, that moment we were kind of robbed of that. And the showrunners set up for themselves a very interesting predicament in preparing the premiere of the 7th season, because what they're going to have to do is to recreate the emotional impact of our suspense and the tension and anxiety that we felt as we thought we were going to get to know who it was. It's like, are they going to actually go back and show that scene for the opening episode? Like, are they going to fill in those blanks? It just seems so bizarre. So ridiculous. And now, I don't want to be disparaging towards the entire episode, because I think that there was actually a lot of good that was done. And in the 90 minutes that they had, or well, adjust that for all the commercial breaks that we had, they did a really fantastic job of making us dread what the saviors were bringing. And that scene where Rick and Maggie and Abraham and Sasha and Carl and everybody is heading off into the woods, and they're trying to delude the saviors once and for all and reach help for Maggie. And then they hear the whistling and suddenly they're completely surrounded. I mean, that was a breathtaking, horrifying scene. Perhaps even one of my favorites in the show so far. And Negan's introduction was excellent, and they really gave him plenty of time to work the stage and to really show his charm in the midst of the brutality that he was about to deliver. And he makes it very clear that it's like, look, you guys are going to work for me now. You're going to play by my rules. And because of all of my men who you managed to take out, well, I'm gonna have to do you one better. It's like, it makes sense. Horrible, awful sense, but it does make sense. And why couldn't we just... I mean, I think back to, for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, the episode in which, oh gosh, what was it called? is the mountain and the viper, or gosh, I'm totally butchering it, but you guys know the one. You probably know what I'm trying to say if I did mess that up. Where you think everything is going to go one direction and then an event occurs. It's like I was readying myself for a moment of that level of brutality. I'm so ready for it. Now we have to wait, and I don't know. And actually, something I would like for you guys to let me know down in the comments, if you have been watching my Walking Dead / Fear the Walking Dead reviews in the past, I'm actually kind of teetering on the fence about Fear the Walking Dead. Should I do weekly reviews of it? I'm trying to decide that because I want to watch new shows. But anyway, this episode, let's switch gears really quickly and go back and talk a little bit about what happened with Morgan and Carol. Now, I'm still super frustrated with Carol's decision to depart from the group at this point. Well, we finally get some insight into her worldview and why it is exactly that she is isolating herself and is basically comes forth as completely suicidal, because she realizes that for all the care that she has, from that care there is a violence that is born. It is embedded, it is required. And so if you surround yourselves with people that you care about, you're going to have to do reprehensible things. And it's like, yes, but and finally Morgan says, like, but look, there's so much that's worth it in this world. And for as annoying perhaps as some of his philosophies have come forth in the past, like, I was cheering him on in that moment. It's like, yes, give her the truth, because, you know, you were in a place not too different from hers in the past. So I think that Morgan is definitely the right kind of person to be pursuing her at this time. And you know, what's crazy is Morgan demonstrates just how much he is able to care for Carol by freaking shooting down the savior who gunned her twice. And I don't know exactly what she's going to make of that, because she was in this whole, like, ha ha ha, I'm going to die, like, you're giving me the victory because I'm finally out of this life and I don't have to kill anymore. And it still seems like such a far stretch for her character, because of all the relationships that she's established and all the ways in which she's come back. But now Morgan is going to be the one to make sure that she comes back for good. And they run into a couple of armored dudes who have a horse, and he seems to trust them to be able to facilitate the delivery of medical care to Carol at this time. So they're going to be hitching their wagon to a new team, and maybe they'll be able to provide some assistance to Rick and company in their dire straits too. But really proud of Morgan for stepping up his game, for stepping in and doing the necessary deed, even if it's not what Carol wanted. What Morgan wants at this point in time is what we also want. Also interesting to see how now Father Gabriel has been entrusted with Alexandria's defenses, which at this point it seems like they're going to be doing okay, because all of the action and mayhem is elsewhere. But inevitably, now that Negan has Rick, the leader of Alexandria, in his custody and his workforce, certainly they're going to be making their way back to the home territory, but under very different circumstances. And we're going to have lots and lots of problems to unpack in the future. But man, oh man, so who do I think got the bat? Daryl maybe? Glenn maybe? I've heard about what happened in the comics. There were some intentional editing choices made to obscure who it was exactly that got the bat. I'm sure that if you rewatched that final scene over and over again, you'd be able to say, like, okay, look at this, look at this, look at this. Like, clearly the person must have been sitting there, so it had to be them, but I have no freaking clue. I am just as emotionally constipated as the rest of you guys, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hash all of this business out with you guys in depth to the best of my ability. Talk amongst yourselves. Here, now I shall give you a hug. It's over for now. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me through the season. I will, of course, be back for season 7 and many other shows to come down the line. So you guys, take care of yourselves, please. And as always, I'll be back before you know it.